Welcome back to boring nature to help you fall asleep. Tonight, we're drifting into the stillness of a quiet garden where broad cabbage leaves stretch wide under soft skies, and time moves as slowly as the wind through the grass. Hidden beneath one of those leaves, tucked away like a secret, lives a very small creature. Not a hero, not a wanderer, just a little caterpillar who loops when it walks, naps in the shade, and chews its way, unhurried, through the world. We're entering the peaceful, leafy life of a cabbage looper, a creature that doesn't ask for much, just a patch of green and a little room to grow. There are no great battles here, no suspense. Just the simple rhythm of looping and munching, resting and growing, one gentle day at a time. Before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy these sleepy journeys into nature. Let me know in the comments what time it is for you and where in the world you're listening from. Now settle in, let your thoughts slow down. Let the sounds of the garden wrap softly around you, and come with me into a world where nothing much happens, and that's exactly the point. In the gentle hush of a quiet garden, beneath the broad green leaves of a cabbage patch, there is a very small caterpillar. It isn't in a hurry. It doesn't have grand adventures. It doesn't wield a sword or cast spells. It is, quite simply, a Cabbage Looper Caterpillar. Moves like a wave, eats like it's not in a hurry, hangs upside down on a leaf, not doing much. Dreams of being a moth, but isn't in a rush. Not a pest in this context, just a tiny looper. If you look closely, you can see it, soft, pale green, shaped a bit like a crescent moon if you glance at it from the side. It has just enough fuzz to make it look like a whisper of something rather than a creature. And when it moves, it scrunches its middle, brings its back feet to its front, then stretches out again in a sleepy little loop, over and over. Like it is gently yawning across the leaf. You can almost hear the soft rustling of its body as it moves in slow motion, looping from one end of the leaf to the other. It doesn't rush. It doesn't hurry. It is at peace. It doesn't have a name, because in the garden, names aren't really necessary. Sunlight comes and goes. Dew falls at night. And that's enough. The looper is not alone in the garden, of course. There are ladybugs who patrol the leaves, walking with the seriousness of nights. There are ants, who seem to be constantly late for something, running busily in and out of sight. And then there are the bees, always buzzing by with the energy of creatures who have somewhere important to be. The looper doesn't share their urgency. It doesn't need to. It has its leaf. As you watch, the leaf sways gently in the breeze, rocking ever so slightly. The looper sways with it, lulled into a dozy calm, almost as though it's floating. For the looper, the leaf is everything. Its home, its food, its bed, its umbrella. Sometimes the wind shakes a raindrop from the edge of the leaf, and it gently lands on the looper's back. But the looper doesn't mind. It doesn't even notice. The caterpillar is content in the simplest way. Cabbage looper caterpillars are what scientists call larvae of the Trichoplusiani moth. But the looper doesn't know that. It just knows that each day brings more leaf to nibble, its tiny mouth parts moving rhythmically side to side, like a slow, steady munching. Its job, if you can call it that, is to grow. Slowly, softly, quietly, eating, resting, looping. It wakes up on the first day to the sound of dew slipping off the edge of the leaf. It's only just hatched from a pale pearl polite egg that was laid on the underside of a cabbage leaf. But it doesn't remember the egg. The past isn't something it thinks about much. The future is a fuzzy idea too. But the now. The now is a soft, green moment filled with the hum of distant bees and the gentle crackle of sun-warmed leaves. It arches its tiny body and makes its first slow loop across the leaf. Its belly brushes the surface, and above, the sky is blue and endless. A breeze passes through the garden, but the leaf holds firm. The looper pauses, takes a tiny nibble. It's delicious in the mildest, most ordinary way. Look closely, and you'll see how the looper doesn't have legs in the middle of its body, just little stubby legs at the front and back. That's why it loops. Up and over. Up and over. Like a sleepy wave trying to reach shore, but getting distracted halfway there. By midday, the looper has reached the edge of the leaf. Not much changes there. The view is slightly wider. You can almost feel the stillness around it. The air cool, the earth steady. The caterpillar doesn't feel the need to moo or hurry. It simply exists in the quiet peace of the garden. The life of a Cabbage Looper caterpillar is not dramatic. It's soft. It's green. It's mostly munching. That night, the moon rises up, pale and drowsy. The looper curls on the underside of the leaf, and the garden settles into the deep quiet of night. An owl hoots once, far off in the distance. But it sounds soft, and it sounds safe. The looper rests. Day 2 arrives with the first warm sunbeam of the morning. The looper has grown a little. Not noticeably, unless you're really paying attention, which most of the garden isn't. But that's fine. A rain shower passes through the garden. Gentle. The caterpillar is already on the underside of the leaf, so it doesn't get wet. It just feels the occasional drop roll past, like a cool lullaby, a gentle tap on its back. Cabbage Looper caterpillars molt several times as they grow. That means they shed their old skin, like taking off a slightly too tight sweater. And this looper does it without ceremony. One moment, it's in one skin. Then, slowly, it slips out. The old skin curls nearby, like a forgotten sock. Not much changes afterward, but the looper feels a little newer, a little stretchier. It celebrates this change by eating another small piece of leaf. Loops and naps. Loops and naps. By day 3, it has moved to a new leaf. The old one has been sufficiently nibbled. The new one isn't far, so it takes its time making the journey. Not because it's difficult, but because there's no rush. Even when a bird flies overhead, the looper doesn't mind. It's too small to be noticed, too green to be interesting, like a tiny comma on a giant page. Its loops are longer now, more graceful. It's a practiced mover in its slow and sleepy way, and it has a sense, vague and warm, that something is ahead, something beyond leaves and munching. But it doesn't fret. Today is for chewing, for napping, for a light sunbathe beneath the clouds, and so it goes. On day 4, the caterpillar notices a strange feeling, a sense of fullness, not just from eating, but from growing. Its skin feels a little snug, so it pauses, takes a breath, if caterpillars do that, and begins to shed once more. Cabbage loopers go through several stages, known as instars. Each time they molt, they enter a new instar, slightly larger, slightly more capable of finishing a leaf with quiet diligence. After this molt, the looper pauses, hangs upside down, does nothing, maybe dreams, maybe just sways. The garden moves around it. Bees buzz, ladybugs inspect aphids. A breeze ruffles the cabbage leaves. But the looper? It rests, and so it continues. By day 5, the caterpillar's life is much the same. The leaf is crisp. The sun is warm, not too hot. A spider passes by on a strand of silk, but it doesn't notice the looper. That's fine. The looper isn't trying to be noticed. It keeps munching. Cabbage loopers are considered pests by farmers, but not here. Not in this quiet garden. Here, it is just a sleepy part of the scenery. A guest with a very small appetite and very quiet manners. By day 6, it has grown more. It doesn't have a mirror, and wouldn't have cared if it did. But it feels different. Heavier, maybe. More solid in its loops. It hangs under the leaf most of the afternoon, occasionally taking bites, mostly just resting. Like a hammock with a hunger. By the 7th day, it feels different, ready. It doesn't know why, but it finds a hidden part of the plant, tucked away in a quiet nook. It spins a soft, pale cocoon around itself. A place to wait, to change. Inside the cocoon, things happen, but not quickly, not loudly. In the quiet dark, the looper becomes something else. For days, it hangs there, wrapped in silk, dreaming, perhaps, of leaves, of loops, of days without urgency. The transformation from caterpillar to moth is called metamorphosis, a fancy word for becoming who you were always meant to be, without rushing. Cabbage loopers turn to mush inside their cocoons before reforming into delicate, dusky moths. It's not dramatic, but it's thorough. And then, on a still morning, it emerges, soft, winged, brown, mottled. A moth. It flutters its new wings slowly. The world is wider now, but it still pauses. No rush, still the same tiny soul inside. The cabbage looper is a moth now, but it still moves like a yawn in the breeze. Still just a looper at heart. And in the quiet garden, life goes on. Moves like a whisper, rests like a rock, eats like a dream, softly looping through the world. The days pass, and the looper, now a moth, flutters about the garden in a way that's almost imperceptible. It has wings, but it doesn't hurry. It doesn't dart around with any particular purpose. It simply moves as if the breeze is carrying it, like a feather caught in a soft wind. In the stillness of the garden, you can see it now, resting on a leaf, its wings folded neatly around its small body, the colour of its wings, a soft brown mottled with gentle patterns, blends perfectly with the muted hues of the garden. A quiet harmony between the looper and the world around it. From time to time, it stretches its wings, but it doesn't rush to fly. It doesn't need to. There's no hurry. It knows that in time it will be ready. But for now, it's content simply to be. To sit still, its wings folded gently, and to listen to the world. You might hear the soft buzzing of bees moving from flower to flower. Their busy hum is the only sound that breaks the peaceful quiet. The looper, now a moth, is so small that it seems almost invisible, a flicker of movement here and there, like a soft sigh in the air. Sometimes, if you sit very still, you might even see it perch on the cabbage leaves, nestled so perfectly within the greenery that it almost disappears. It blends in with the leaves in a way that would make it difficult for anyone to notice it, perhaps not even the birds, who pass by without a second glance. For a moth, this is its greatest skill, to be unnoticed. To live quietly, softly, in the stillness of the garden. The moth is not like the looper it once was. It doesn't loop, nor does it eat the leaves. Its role in the garden has changed. It is no longer part of the quiet munching life of the cabbage patch. Instead, it is part of a new world now. One that exists in the quiet corners, where the soft hum of wings becomes a lullaby, and the sun glows golden in the afternoon. One day, it flutters to a new spot in the garden, a soft patch of light near a tall, blooming flower. It rests again, as though the world has paused just for it. The flowers around it seem to sway as though they too are caught in a moment of stillness. The wind gently stirs the air, carrying with it the smell of fresh earth and blossoming petals. Here, the moth can feel the warmth of the sun on its wings. It isn't in a rush. The warmth spreads slowly, like a comforting blanket, and the moth relaxes into it, letting go of the smallness of its world. For just a moment, everything feels perfectly still, and the moth is at peace. From time to time, you might spot it again, drifting lightly from one leaf to another. Its movements are so slow, so serene, that it almost feels as though it is part of the air itself, a soft flutter in the quiet garden. The moth's days pass slowly, softly. It is not bothered by the busy world around it, not disturbed by the ants marching past or the ladybugs who are always inspecting leaves. The moth simply exists in the spaces between, those quiet places where time seems to stretch out into endless moments of peace. And, as the sun sets each day, the moth returns to its favourite resting place on a quiet leaf, curling up in the folds of its wings. There, in the cool shadow of the evening, it settles down for the night. The garden has a way of becoming softer as the stars begin to twinkle in the sky and the night creatures come out. But the moth, nestled beneath the leaves, doesn't mind the night. It welcomes it, just as it welcomed the day. The world may change. The seasons may shift. But in this quiet corner of the garden, the moth lives in its own peaceful rhythm, as if time itself has slowed just for it. No rush. Just the soft flutter of wings and the gentle hum of the garden around it. Day by day, the moth's wings grow stronger, more accustomed to the breeze that flows through the garden. Yet, it doesn't fly far. It never needs to. Its world is small, but it is the perfect size for it. A quiet patch of leaves, a soft breeze, a steady rhythm of existence. As the days grow longer, the moth continues its gentle journey, moving softly through the garden, never in a hurry, always resting, always in tune with the quiet flow of life around it. It still dreams of something beyond the cabbage patch, perhaps of distant fields or forests, but there is no need to rush there either. The moth is content. The looper is content. And so it goes as the seasons turn. The garden is always there, gentle and constant, and the moth, like the looper before it, remains a part of it, blending into the quiet tapestry of the world. The moon rises once more, pale and distant, casting a soft glow over the garden. In this moment, everything feels perfectly still, as though the world itself has taken a deep breath and is holding it for just a while longer. And in the quiet hush, the moth rests. Still, serene, moving like a whisper, rests like a stone, eats like a dream. Just a looper softly looping through the world. As the days grow warmer, the moth begins to feel the gentle pull of the changing seasons. The garden around it shifts too. The flowers bloom and wither, the leaves grow fuller, and then begin to turn in preparation for a new cycle. The moth, still soft, winged, still in no rush, watches it all with quiet eyes. It is not concerned with the passage of time. It is content to be part of this never-ending rhythm of growth and rest. Each day, the moth flutters lightly from one leaf to the next, a slow, graceful motion, always in tune with the peaceful pace of the garden. If you are quiet enough, you might hear the soft rustle of its wings, barely more than a breath in the wind. It is a sound that seems to belong to the earth itself, as though the moth's flight is a part of something much larger than itself, something ancient and enduring. Sometimes, a cool breeze sweeps through the garden, carrying the scent of distant rain. The moth spreads its wings just slightly, feeling the breeze pass through the delicate fabric of its wings. It doesn't need to fly. It simply lets the wind carry it for a moment, drifting gently with no destination in mind. This is the way of the moth, slow, unhurried, floating like a dream in the soft, fading light of day. The bees are still busy, buzzing from flower to flower, their wings creating a gentle hum that fills the air. The ladybugs remain on their diligent patrol, inspecting every leaf as they always do. The ants march, seemingly on their own secret missions, their tiny feet moving with a purpose. But the moth, it doesn't hurry. It simply drifts, a small presence in the vastness of the garden, content to be. At night, when the garden is bathed in the soft glow of the moon, the moth finds a quiet place to rest. It folds its wings around itself, tucking them in like a soft blanket, and settles down among the cool shadows. The garden is quieter now, the sounds of the day giving way to the peaceful silence of the night. The moth doesn't worry about the coming dawn. It knows that tomorrow there will be another gentle breeze, another soft leaf to rest upon. It is in these quiet moments, as the moonlight filters through the leaves, that the moth feels most at home. The world outside the garden may continue to turn, but here, in this little corner, time seems to stretch and soften, as if the garden itself is in no rush to move forward, and neither is the moth. The moth dreams, perhaps, of its days as a looper, of the soft, endless loops across the cabbage leaves, of the slow, steady rhythm of its life. It remembers those days, not with longing or regret, but with a sense of peace. The looper was a part of it, and now the moth is a part of the garden in its own way. There is no difference between them, only a quiet, continuous thread of life that moves gently through the world. As the first light of morning begins to creep across the garden, the moth stirs, stretching its wings slowly. The warmth of the sun begins to filter through the leaves, casting soft golden beams across the ground. The garden awakens again, but the moth, still, takes its time. There's no rush to greet the new day. It will arrive, just as it always does, and the moth will be ready when it does. But for now, it is content to simply rest, to be a part of the garden's quiet beauty. In the stillness of the morning, the moth moves once more, but it is never in a hurry. It moves like the breeze, like a soft sigh in the air. The world around it is vast, but it is small and gentle, and it is enough. The moth is, in every sense, part of the rhythm of the garden. It no longer loops. It no longer moves with the same slow, scrunching motions it once did. But it is still a looper, still moving through life in a soft, unhurried way. It is still part of the gentle pulse of the earth, a tiny quiet presence in a world that moves with both speed and slowness. There is no need for adventure. There is no need for rushing. The moth, with its soft wings and quiet presence, is exactly where it needs to be, living a life in perfect balance with the world around it. And so, the garden continues, ever changing, ever still. The moth flutters from one leaf to the next, the bees hum, the ladybugs patrol, and the ants march on. The world is vast, and yet, in this moment, everything is as it should be. The moth rests once again, and the garden continues to breathe softly in and out, just as it always has. And the looper? Well, the looper is still here, still gently looping, still softly swaying with the breeze, still just a looper. As the weeks drift by, the moth grows accustomed to the steady pace of life. The garden around it shifts through its own quiet changes. The blooms fade, new buds appear, and the air turns crisp with the first whispers of autumn. Yet, the moth never feels the need to rush. The garden has become its home, and in its soft, winding way, the moth has found a quiet sense of belonging within it. From time to time, a leaf might rustle as a breeze picks up. The moth, perched on a delicate stem, spreads its wings slightly, letting the wind carry it for a moment, its wings fluttering with the softest sound, like the faintest of whispers. The wind is always there, a constant companion, but the moth never struggles against it. It simply moves as the air moves, swaying gently in the breeze, never in a hurry to go anywhere. One day, when the sun is particularly warm, the moth rests upon a thick, soft leaf, the sunbeams shining down on its brown, mottled wings. The world around it is still, save for the soft hum of a distant bee. The moth listens to this hum, not in haste, but as if it were a melody made just for it. The buzzing is a reminder of the busyness that exists just beyond the garden, a world of movement and urgency. But here, within the quiet spaces between the leaves, there is only peace. There's something in the air. Perhaps it's the turning of the season, or perhaps it's simply the quiet unfolding of time. The moth feels a sense of completion, as if it's fulfilled its purpose, not in a loud way, but in the way the garden itself fulfills its purpose every day, through its slow and steady existence. The cabbage leaves, still bright and tender, have given it all it could ever need: shade, shelter, and sustenance. The moth's days are peaceful, its body no longer hungry, its wings no longer new. It dreams occasionally, though not in any urgent way. Perhaps it dreams of the past, of its days as a looper caterpillar, looping lazily across cabbage leaves, nibbling on the tender green. Or perhaps it dreams of the soft breeze, of the air between the branches, of resting in the cool shade of a leaf, listening to the world. But dreams do not take precedence over the present. In this moment, it is enough to simply exist, to be part of the world around it. The moth is no longer worried about the things it once didn't understand, such as time or the future. It simply flows with life as it is, a soft presence in the vastness of the garden. The garden itself seems to breathe more deeply now, as autumn begins its gentle approach. The leaves sway with a quiet elegance, and the shadows grow longer as the sun shifts lower in the sky. The moth stays close to the branches, nestled amongst the leaves, where the air is cooler and the world is soft. The garden is like a song, slow, patient, and ever-changing, but always in perfect harmony. And yet, the moth doesn't feel any need to leave, not yet. It is content in its stillness, resting there in the embrace of the garden. The days flow by, like a quiet stream, carrying the moth through each one without rush. Some nights, the stars seem brighter, almost as if they too are taking a moment to pause and rest. The moon, full and bright, rises in the sky, casting its gentle light over the garden. The moth, curled up on a favourite leaf, rests under this soft glow, the world around it quiet and peaceful. There's no need for it to fly far. There's no urgency. Just a slow, steady rhythm, rest, stretch, dream, repeat. Days fade into weeks, and then into months. The garden continues to grow, change, and breathe, as gardens always do. And the moth, now fully comfortable in the world it inhabits, stays close, still a part of this quiet, slow, moving dance of life. Time moves like the soft turning of a leaf, unnoticed unless you stop to watch it carefully. It doesn't know what lies beyond this garden, nor does it care. There's no need to explore beyond what it knows. The world is vast, but right here, in the garden, there is peace. The leaves rustle gently, as if to speak to the moth in the language of soft sighs. The breeze carries the scent of earth, the fragrance of flowers long past blooming, and the faint memory of summer. The moth stretches its wings just slightly, feeling the air brush past it. And then, just like that, The moth closes its wings, nestling deeper into the folds of a leaf, and once again it rests. As the air grows cooler and the days shorter, the garden begins to prepare itself for the quiet of winter. The leaves, once full and lush, start to turn golden and brown. The moth, now fully settled into its new life, doesn't feel the need to seek shelter from the chill, for the garden still offers its warmth, its quiet corners. The moth drifts between the branches, moving through the garden like a soft shadow. It moves with the season, as all things must, but always at its own pace, a slow, undisturbed rhythm. The earth beneath is damp, and the scent of the soil is richer now, as if the garden is storing up all the memories of the seasons that have come before. The moth stays close to the warm nooks where the sun can still touch the leaves in the late afternoons, but with the passing of time, it feels a slight change within itself. A deep knowing that the garden's rhythm will soon slow, and then, in the quiet of the colder months, it will rest just as everything else in the garden does. Sometimes, in the stillness of the mornings, the moth watches the first frost creep across the ground, a delicate veil of sparkling white that transforms the garden into something new. There's no rush to escape it, though. The moth doesn't mind the cold, for it knows that the garden will still be there, still offering its peaceful embrace, no matter the season. And yet, there is something different about this time. The soft, constant hum of the bees is quieter now, their busy days almost over. The ladybugs have disappeared, most likely to find shelter in the undergrowth. The ants have retreated into their nests, their tasks suspended until the warmth returns. The garden, once so full of life, seems to have entered its slow, restful phase. But the moth, it remains. The moth sits on the edge of a leaf, watching the world around it with the same quiet calm it has always had. It's not worried about the future, nor is it concerned with what it might have missed in the past. It simply exists, its wings folded around it like a blanket, waiting for the next moment, the next soft breeze to carry it away for just a moment, as it has done so many times before. In this peaceful stillness, there is a quiet beauty. The moon rises high above, casting a gentle light over the garden. The moth takes a long, slow breath. The chill in the air makes it feel alive, a reminder that even in the quietest of times, the world is still turning, still moving at its own pace, even if it is moving ever so slowly. The garden rests, as all things do, between the rhythm of the seasons. The moth, just as it has done for many days before, simply watches. It is content with its place in the world. There is no need to go anywhere. No need to do anything except be here, in this moment, with the garden. It wonders, in a way, if this is all that life really is. Not a series of events or a race to the end, but a soft unfolding, like the petals of a flower opening to the light. There's no hurry, no rush. Just the simple beauty of existing. And in that moment, the moth realizes that it doesn't need to know what comes next. The future, the past, they don't matter. What matters is the stillness, the quiet, the soft peace that fills the air as the garden settles into its rest. The wind begins to pick up slightly, the last of the leaves falling from the branches in a gentle shower. The moth spreads its wings, stretching them out slowly as the breeze tugs at it. It hovers for a moment, held aloft by the soft current of the air, then glides gently back down to another leaf. The air is cool now, the light of the moon casting long shadows across the ground. The moth is not in a hurry. There's nothing more it needs to do, except be a part of the quiet rhythm of the garden, of the world around it. It doesn't need to fly far. It doesn't need to chase the wind or seek out a far-off place. It is content to drift, to rest, to live in the quiet spaces. And so, the days continue, as they always do, soft and unhurried. The garden, with its fading colours and deepening shadows, continues its slow rhythm. The moth, still small and graceful, still moving through the air with a quiet flutter, is part of it all. Part of the gentle dance of nature that stretches across time. In the end, the moth is a simple part of the garden's story, a creature that moves like a whisper, rests like a stone, and eats like a dream. And the looper still lingers, though now it is more than just a memory. It is part of the very air of the garden, a part of the fabric of time that slowly unfolds with each passing day. Its journey, though slow and quiet, is part of the garden's greater rhythm, and as the seasons continue to change, so too does the looper, gently moving through life in its own way, without rush or worry. Still just a looper, still just a moth. And in the quiet garden, life continues, soft, unhurried, and forever unfolding. And so, the story drifts to a gentle close. The garden, the moth, the looper, they are all part of this peaceful world. Time moves slowly, softly, but it is always moving, and with it, the quiet rhythm of life. As the days pass, the world outside the garden shifts slowly too. The winds grow colder, and the last of the flowers begin to wilt, their petals curling in the crisp air. The leaves, now brittle with the onset of winter, rustle quietly in the breeze. Yet, for the moth, there is no hurry. There is no rush to meet the changing world, for it has found its place here, in the quiet corners of the garden, where time drifts without pressure. One morning, as the frost continues to paint the edges of the leaves in delicate silver, the moth stirs from its rest. It feels the coolness of the air, the slight weight of the frost on its wings. But instead of retreating, it stretches out its wings, feeling the chill of the morning settle around it. It's a quiet moment, one of reflection, before the garden falls into its deep sleep beneath the weight of winter. The garden itself seems to pause at the same moment. The leaves, once vibrant, now lie still on the ground, a soft carpet of colour underfoot. The plants stand empty, like silent sentinels, waiting for the return of warmth. And yet, in this stillness, there is something beautiful. It is the beauty of rest, of renewal, of quiet expectation. For the garden knows that, though it may rest for now, life will return in time. Everything here is in a slow, eternal cycle where each season has its place. The moth stays perched on a sturdy branch, its wings flickering ever so slightly as it takes in the moment. The world around it is hushed, save for the occasional sound of a falling leaf or the whisper of the wind. There is no rushing to the next thing, no stress or worry about what will come. It simply is. As the sun rises higher, it casts a soft golden light across the garden. The moth closes its eyes for a moment, bathing in the warmth of the sun's rays. In this moment, it is both fully alive and fully at rest, as if it has mastered the art of simply being. There's no need to chase the light, no need to search for anything more. The light is here, and that is enough. The days stretch into a rhythm of their own. The moth's wings grow slightly more weathered, though still as delicate and beautiful as they were when it first emerged from its cocoon. Time doesn't change the moth. It only deepens the peace it feels in its place within the garden. It is content with its small, quiet existence, where each day flows gently into the next, unhurried, as the world outside continues its never-ending cycle. Even as the seasons continue their slow turn, the moth doesn't feel the need to leave. The garden, now blanketed in a soft cover of frost, feels like home. The moth has become a part of it, just as the leaves, the soil, and the air have. Its days are spent in gentle stillness, and even the cold of winter, though present, is not an enemy. It is merely another part of the cycle, another rhythm to move with. In the soft, silent winter nights, when the frost glitters on the leaves and the moon hangs low in the sky, the moth rests. It may close its wings tightly, curling up in a tiny nook of the garden, where the cold is softened by the quiet warmth of the earth. The stillness of the world around it is soothing, like a lullaby sung by the earth itself. The moth dreams, perhaps, of sunny days and warm leaves, but it does so with no urgency. The dreams come and go, fleeting and gentle, like the wind through the trees. There is no rush. Time seems to stretch, as it often does when one is not looking for it. The garden, in its quiet way, continues to change, though the moth remains undisturbed. It is a part of the garden's timeless rhythm, and in that rhythm it finds peace. And so, the days pass by in soft, peaceful motion. The moth, now a small and delicate creature among the fading leaves, watches the garden with patient eyes, never once feeling the need to hurry through its days. It rests, it stretches its wings in the sunlight, and it listens to the whisper of the wind, just as it has always done. The quiet garden wraps itself around the moth, and the moth becomes part of the garden's story, its quiet, sleepy presence woven into the fabric of time. There is no final chapter to this story, only an endless continuation of peaceful moments, stretching across the seasons, soft and unhurried, like a quiet breath. Moves like a sigh, resting like a stone, eating like a dream. Still a looper, still a moth, still a quiet soul, floating through the world in perfect harmony with the rhythm of the garden. One crisp morning, the first light of dawn begins to creep over the horizon. The garden, still covered in a blanket of frost, stirs in the soft glow of the sun. The air is still and cold, but the warmth of the rising day touches everything, even the smallest corners, where shadows have held sway through the long winter nights. The moth, now slightly frail with age but still as graceful as ever, rests upon a leaf. Its wings, worn by time but still beautiful, catch the first rays of sunlight, shining with a delicate golden light. For a moment, it seems to glow, bathed in the soft warmth of the morning as the garden around it comes to life once more. There are no loud noises, no rush. Just the faint rustling of the leaves in the breeze, the soft hum of insects starting their day, and the quiet rhythm of the world turning slowly beneath the moth's wings. And then, the moth, in the same gentle way it has moved through life, folds its wings one last time. It rests upon the leaf, its body still. There is no struggle, no fear. It simply lets go, as quietly as it has lived. Its journey, one of soft movements and quiet moments, comes to its natural conclusion. The garden continues, its rhythm unbroken. The leaves, still tender from the morning dew, sway gently in the breeze. The sun climbs higher, casting a golden glow over the earth, and the garden breathes in the light. A ladybug crawls across the leaf, stopping to rest beside the moth's still body. The ants, busy as ever, march along their paths, their tiny legs scurrying in every direction. The world keeps turning, as it always does, and yet something in the garden feels different, in a quiet way. The moth's presence, though no longer felt in the flutter of its wings, lingers in the garden. It is a part of the rhythm now, woven into the very soil, the air, the light. In the evening, when the moon rises high and the stars twinkle softly above, the garden settles into a deep, peaceful stillness. The wind whispers through the branches, and the earth rests beneath the quiet blanket of night. There is no rush. No hurry. Just the soft, endless continuation of life. The story of the looper and the moth, with all its small, tender moments, ends as gently as it began. Not with a loud farewell, but with a quiet resting, a peaceful conclusion to a journey that was never about reaching the end, but simply about being, about moving at one's own pace, finding contentment in the stillness, and knowing that even in the quietest of moments there is beauty. And so, the garden continues, as gardens always do. It is no different, and yet, in its way, it is forever changed. The moth has gone, but it will always be part of the soft hum of the garden's life, a gentle reminder of the slow, peaceful rhythm of the world.